Hi, this is Carla at the Jackson County Public Library in Ripley, and this is our third Friday of the five Fridays of Halloween. And this week's scary stories are based in West Virginia. And because I have done cryptids so far, I'm going to do cryptids again. As most of you guys know, Bigfoot has been sighted in West Virginia, and I think it's been sighted in every county in West Virginia. So I thought, well, that's too easy. So I went to look for another cryptid, and I found one that I thought was absolutely hilarious called the sheep squatch. But the more I got to reading, there have been a lot of people see this strange creature. I mean, it's like a mix of several different animals, it seems like, when they see it, and it has been known to attack. So I'm going to read a brief description of what it looks like, and then we'll get started with some of the stories. Okay, it is 6 to 10 feet tall, thick, woolly, matted white coat, about the size of a brown bear, and it may sprint on all fours or stand up on two legs, like a bear. It has paw-like hands that sometimes end in curled, long curled talons, and it has a sheep's head with, it says ram's horns, but also people have described it as having like little goat-like horns, like little pointy horns on top. Some people have described it as having fangs, which is kind of terrifying. And it has a strange sulfur scent when people see it. Now, one of the first sightings happened in 1994. Let me get that one over here. That was recorded. One of the first recorded sightings was in 1994. And it happened in Boone County. Let me read this. It says, 2 children observed the creature while playing in their yard in Boone County. What they reported having observed looked like a large white bear, yet, in this case, it stood up on its hind legs, making it over 6 feet tall. It startled the children, and the beast ran off into the forest, breaking medium-sized limbs. This terrified them. I mean, they went because they'd never seen anything like it, because even though it resembled a bear, it didn't look like a bear. It had that kind of woolly type coat to it. And in 1995, the creature was next spotted a year later in Boone County, and this time it involved a car. A couple driving through Boone County observed a large white beast sitting in a ditch alongside the roadway. Now, as many people would do, being curious passengers, they stopped the car to get a better look at it because they'd never seen anything like it. And they came to describe the creature again as mostly similar to earlier descriptions, yet they added the creature had 4 eyes. This is the only account I could find where the creature actually had 4 eyes. Now, maybe they saw something else that looked like eyes, I don't know. And in stark contrast to the last sighting where sheep squatch fled the scene, this creature leaped out of the ditch and started to attack their car. Frightened by the attack, of course, the couple drove off quickly. And once they arrived back home, they noticed large scratches on the side where the beast had attacked. Now, this goes on. It's not only in Boone County, it's also in Putnam County and Mason County and Kanawha County, and there have been sightings since this time in like Kentucky and Tennessee also. And I think there was one even in Virginia. Okay, this next one happened in 1999. And this involves a couple of campers in Boone County also, again, and they were in the forest and they were around the bonfire, and they heard this animal snorting and scuffling around the camp in a manner similar to an aggravated bear, though it did not come into the light of the campfire immediately. All of a sudden, the sheep squatch suddenly charged out of the darkness at the campers. Reacting quickly, they jumped up and ran back to the house, all the while being pursued by the sheep squatch. Giving chase as a natural predator would when somebody runs away, the white thing stopped at the edge of the forest where it screamed this like horrible, terrible scream they'd never heard before. And then they made it safely back into their cabin. But the next day, they went back into the woods where the campfire was, and they said it looked like it had been tore up like with a rototiller. So it's a pretty powerful thing, and the claws must have really came into use there. But the one that I found most convincing was from a gentleman named Ed Rollins. and he reported this on October 14th in 2004. And it's a little closer to home. He had been in the TNT area in Mason County, and he said he was not prepared for what encountered along the creek bank north of the Bethel Church Road. As I walked the creek, I heard something large break through the bush ahead of me, and I froze. Logic told me that at worst it was a large dog or even a stray cow, as there's very little in the way of predators in Mason County. Still, I've been a hunter since my teenage years, and I knew well that the West Virginia DNR had actively repopulated absent native species, and it was wholly possible that I was about to come face to face with something which might consider me lunch. What I saw emerge from the bush was a large brownish-white creature. Its fur looked dirty and matted, as if the animal did very little in the line of self-grooming. I can't be sure if I was looking at a dirty white animal or a brownish animal with a white undercoat. It was late in the fall, so it made sense that it might be putting on a winter coat. The creature moved on all fours as it breached the brush line and knelt to drink from the creek. Its front limbs, the only limbs I could see clearly, ended in what was a markedly paw-like hands, kind of like a raccoon-type hands. Its head was long and pointed, like a canine, and it had largish horns, not antlers, but single-point horns on its head. I shrunk back into the bush and watched, afraid to stay and afraid to run. It drank for a few minutes, then crossed the creek and continued on across towards Sandhill Road. When I was sure it was gone, I turned and ran as fast as I could back to the pond where I parked my car. And the one thing that sticks in his mind about this encounter most clearly is the way it smelled. He said it smelled like sulfur. But now he explained that by there being the munitions plant there, and a lot of the sulfur and stuff had ran off into the ponds, and maybe drinking that water had caused it to smell like that. Anyway, there was a lot more sheep squatch encounters than I expected. So you might want to look into this. You can, look online. There's some other books out there that has sheep squatch in them. So just be careful out there if you go to investigate, and take somebody with you. Never go alone, and have fun.